Hey there folks, welcome back to another video. Here is one of my favorite masks that I've done. This is my movie mask, or at least it was. I got some news regarding my fan film that that I was working on. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. But this was the final mask that we had settled on, that I had settled on. I had about 5, 6, 7 different, I think 6 different variations that we had going around, and this was the one that I settled on. Unfortunately, the actual film is the current state that it is. It's canceled. The story that we were telling, I'm going to still do. It's just not something that I can do currently. We're still going to be doing some shorter, more one-off style short films, but this is the mask that I plan on using in those short films, unless I want to do something different for that specific short film. But this was the mask that we'd settled on, and I really do like this mask. The idea of it is basically to get as close to what the original 78 would have looked like fresh off of the workbench, just as soon as Tommy Lee Wallace would have finished it. I'm sure the horns wouldn't have been there, you know, you got that idea going. Somebody else probably came in and did the horns, or maybe Tommy did that a little while after. But in terms of the paint job, the paint job is just white. It's just off-white. It's slightly blue, a little bit of an off-white, but it's the Halloween Halloween H40 mask, de-aged, and then just painted white for the most part. And this side of the mask looks really clean. It's once you get to the other side, you get to see some of those more heavy-duty scratches that aren't quite filled in yet. You can see the highlights of some of them here and here. However, I still really like the outcome of this mask, and I think some of my hair work, is what I've really started to progress on. I'm really liking. I got some other ideas that I've done since I finished this mask. I finished this mask in September. It's currently January. I have some other ideas that I've been doing, but this is some of my best hair work, I think, in my opinion. I think the hairline is a good mix between messy and clean. You know, that's one of the things that I find the hardest about working on a Myers mask, is that the hairline, it depends on what mask you are doing, of course, but at least for the 78 mask and the Halloween 2 mask, it has to have a certain level of shittiness to it, for lack of a better word. It has to look bad, but also look good. Intentionally, it has to look like an accident, kind of. It's, you know, there's paint, and there's, you know, parts of the hairline that's missing, and it's not completely straight, and it has to have a certain level of recededness to it, kind of, because of the way that the sideburns were ripped off and this and that. It just has to have a certain look to it. You know, the hairline has to be applied cleanly, but still also look somewhat organic. It's very strange, and it's hard to put into words, but it's one of the things that I love about doing these masks is progressing on the hair. It has to also have a certain level of nappiness, kind of that Brillo pad effect, but also not look bad. You can see that this mask has a certain level of that Brillo padness. Some people like to keep it a little bit more straight and clean looking, which I used to really like, but I've gotten really into the Brillo pad look myself. I think it just gives the mask a sort of aura to it. It just looks like real hair, kind of messy. And you got the horns that came out really nicely on this mask, in my opinion. And it's 4 minutes and I'm still just talking. But let's spin this around. You can see that the eyebrows have a slight sheen to them. That's actually because when I was done with the mask, I thought the eyebrows weren't quite pronounced enough. That's one of the things that you'll find, that if you work on these H40s and try to de-age them, you'll lose a lot of the eyebrow because there's not that much to start with. I actually built up the eyebrows with layers of tacky glue. Now, that's not how I would have done it. That's not how I would do it again. I kind of just did it and didn't know if it was going to work. So I was already completed with the paint job, and the paint that I had used, I no longer had that mix anymore. So I didn't paint over it. So there is a level of unfinishedness to this mask, and you can see that it's shiny. So if you just go back over it with a matte coat, that'll get rid of the shine, but it is slightly translucent on the eyebrows because it's just layers of tacky glue. I didn't really think it was going to work. And I feel like you could probably just, you might not be able to pick that off, but I don't know. I was just trying something. So, you know, if I were to do this again, that wouldn't be the case. It would be something I would do early on, and then the whole mask would be painted the same color. But I don't think it's super noticeable, but you've got a light directly on it right now, so it makes it kind of stand out in terms of the sheen. But in terms of the color, there's a slight difference, but I don't think it's very noticeable. But you can see some of those heavier aged spots here. There's only so much you can do with it, and I kept the needle hole, and I also made the hairline or the sideburns a little bit more pronounced, because the sideburns on the original H40 are very, very small. And he's got this bumpiness around on the mask itself as well. That's due to, you know, the liquid latex, adding layers of that, and then just the paint, because I painted this by hand instead of using an airbrush because I wanted that sort of texture to it. Sometimes I try to go for it, sometimes it's an accident. There's some things on here that I wouldn't do again, like back here, you didn't get all that glue off the back of the neck when I painted this. I think I initially finished the paint job, or at least the first time I painted it was back in May, maybe April. And I just kept working on the mask, but I wasn't restarting. So this has a couple of different passes. You know, I did some of it with a different color, and then I went over it and brightened it up. It's went through a lot of stages because I was trying to find the mask that I really wanted for the movie. And you can see that I do have the mouth open. At one point it was closed, but my cousin, who was playing Michael, or is playing Michael in whatever we do, he couldn't really breathe that well because the mask is so small. So I did open the mouth, and then I opened it a little bit more to clean it up. But you can see that the horns look really sharp. You got some of them standing straight up, and then you got the back here. Like I said, I think the hair is what I'm really progressing the most on. I've gotten it down to, you know, knowing exactly how much I need for certain masks and not using too much and not wasting any of it. You can see that the hair isn't really too long. This mask had different hair just a couple months ago, and I completely redid it, and it's got a lot less hair now. It's a lot closer. I find that the mask often looks like the hair ends at the bottom of the earlobe. This might be just a little bit shorter looking, but that's generally where I like it. It also doesn't get really interrupted by the collar if you have the collar up. So I really like this right now, and I got it kind of pushed forward, but you can see that the hair is a blonde color mist with a little bit of a darker brown. It's still a bit of a blonde, and then it has black mist in there, but there's not much black in it at all. It looks darker in camera because of the exposure. I have it dropped down really low so it kind of get that darkness in the background. But there's not much black in the hair at all. But yeah, guys, I'm really proud of how this guy came out. There's definitely a way to make this look even cleaner. But for my liking, I think he came out pretty sharp. Like, there's some mess ups here, like in terms of the eyebrow. I remember that happening, but I don't remember how it happened. I don't remember what it was. But there's just some things, like, there's a lot of different changes that this mask went through, as well as the other masks that were supposed to be for the movie. So if I were to do this again, it would be a lot more of a cut and dry process. I just don't think that I think the only thing that wouldn't come out better is the heavy cracks on the side. It's just, they're so deep, and I would prefer to do the liquid latex method over evenly, as opposed to kind of building it up in certain areas. You got these cracks here, and then these here. I don't know, maybe you can get away with doing a couple more layers. I'm not entirely sure, and I have seen some people Dremel the cracks down. A mixture of that and then doing the liquid latex might work out. It's definitely something I'd have to try in the future. But as far as this mask goes, this will be the mask that we use for any sort of smaller fan films or anything like that. I have three, I think, ideas separate from the actual fan film that we're working on. So 4 in total, and then a couple of rough ideas I have laid out. But yeah, guys, I think this dude is looking pretty solid. I do love him a lot. So I hope you guys do enjoy it as well. I've gotten some love on Instagram. I just finally posted a picture of him not too long ago. So it seems to be that some people like it. I definitely think that we're heading in the right direction. You can see I got a little bit of paper bag action in there to kind of puff out the neck a little bit. Gives them a little bit more of a wider neck. So yeah, I think this dude looks pretty good. We're not going to move over to the mannequin in this video just because these masks are so small, they don't really look good on the mannequin. And I don't think it's just worth setting up, so I'm just going to do a few more passes like this, and then that'll be the end of it. Alright guys, if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell. All of that would be greatly appreciated if you decide to do so. And if you like this video that much, I have a second channel, Michael's Customs and Comics. Maybe you want to go over there and watch a couple of videos, or maybe hit the subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated if you decide to do that. And of course, until next time, true believers.